Hello, my friend. Welcome to the Cynthia Linox Show. I am your host, Cynthia Linox. Today, we are going to unpack another episode of the journey of self-discovery. Last week, I talked about knowing who you are. To ask yourself the question, who are you? And not to define, I mentioned that it doesn't mean that you define yourself by a role or by some label that's been applied to you or any of that external things. That you need to really do a study on yourself and to discover the essence of who you are. That's the first step you must take. And the reason for that is because if you don't know who you are, how would you know what to discover? Again, this is a journey of self-discovery. And when you know who you are, then you come to that place of your authentic self and you recognize who you are. These are the things I like. These are my boundaries. These are things I don't like. And all of that, you realize this is the person that I've been looking for, the person that is not shy, the person that is bold, the person that is audacious, the person that is fun and energetic and positive and all of that. And sometimes you realize that, wait a minute, you discover who you are, but then you haven't been living your authentic self. Why? Because you are living a life of performance. You know, there's a big thing about this performative concept of living. And that all has to do with you performing based on what the expectations are, the traditional expectations, what they are. So today I want to talk about living life on your own terms. What does that mean? What does it mean to live your life on your own terms? Because I'm telling you, it is the most fulfilling and gratifying place to arrive when you are setting the terms on which you want to live. Because then you'll be living according to your rules and so forth. So if I were to describe that, if I were to define what does it mean to live life on your own terms, now I can define it in one sentence, or we can broaden it and really get down to it. And we're going to try to do both. To live life on your own term is really getting rid of the script. Getting rid of the script handed down to you by your family, by tradition, by your parents, by your culture, society, the expectation that's imposed upon you, everything by, scholastic environment, religious environment. Getting rid of the script, getting rid of all the script, unless it's something that you embrace and you identify with and you relate to. And if it resonates with you, then you have already arrived to where you want to be. But if you are one of those folks that are feeling a little uneasy because there's something much more in life that you want, there's something else, you don't want more of the same, you want something different, then this show is for you. As I've shared before, this show is not for everyone because some of the narratives, some of the concepts, the ideas that I share are somewhat can be perceived as radical. I define it as self-respect. Some may say, oh, yes, it's rebellious. But then, comes a point where you have to respect yourself and respect, your goals, your ideas, your fulfillment. You have to respect the things that are relative to you, to your likes, your wants, your desires. You have to respect yourself, your boundaries. You have to respect all of that. Set boundaries and determine what you want, take responsibility and not be a people pleaser and all of that. So I call it, again, it can be viewed as rebellion, and I'm okay with that. I am okay with that label as rebellious or title, but again, what it really is self-respect. Having self-respect and recognizing your self-worth, your value, knowing who you are, and recognizing your value. That's because, see, if you don't, my friend, if you don't know your value, you will settle. You will settle for anything. You will settle for things that people say to you. People will talk to you any kind of way, think they can get away with any kind of, to speak to you in any kind of way. And that's, you should not allow that. You should not allow that. When you respect yourself, you don't even have, because they say if respect is earned. No. Your whole presence commands respect. When you respect yourself, it is something that is felt. It's seen, it is felt. You don't even have to open your mouth and say, well, you have to respect me. No, it is felt. And so that's important. It's important that you know who you are, you know your worth, you know your value, and you approach life in your authentic self. So to define the term living life on your own terms is really to be the author of your own story. You be the author of your own story. You have come to a place where you are going to author your own story. And, it's been a long time. I have torn up all this script. I just tore it up because there are a lot of things that are traditional that I don't agree with. They don't apply to me. And I choose not to live my life that way simply because, we're in the 21st century. This is 2025. And you have to, you have to upgrade, you have to improve, you have to update, you have to be relevant. And if you're not relevant, then you're dragging behind and you're clinging to the old ways, old views, old ideas, old concepts, old everything. And that just doesn't, for me, some people are okay with that. Some people are okay with living a traditional life and, staying in the same old, and staying in a comfort zone and living a life to please others and all that. If that's you, then again, this show may either stir something up, open your thinking, create a new mindset, and get you in a different path. But we are not here to back down. We are not here to play small. We are not here to diminish ourselves. And we are simply not here to please everyone. I approach this whole concept unapologetically. We don't apologize for the way we are, the way we think. And for those of you that communicate with me and are happy to be going through this journey, and I know sometimes it takes courage before you come out of that box, before you come out of that place where you feel bold enough, where you can speak your piece, speak your mind, and show up boldly. Sometimes it takes a while if you're not used to that, but take baby steps and start doing it. Start by learning to say no. When you don't want to do something, when you don't want to go someplace, when you don't want something, if what you mean to say is no, then you say no. You don't say yes just because you want to be liked. Because this journey, I am finding out even, not everybody's going to like you. But you're not here for people to like you. You are here to be fulfilled. And your fulfillment, again, you define what that is. Living life on your own terms means that you put yourself in a position where you add definition to your life. You define what happiness is. You define what your fulfillment is. You define what your success is. You define what it means for you to accomplish something. You define what is a good life. You define what that means for you. You don't have to go by somebody else's definition. I remember there was a time where I used to say, it was taught to me when I was, in a religious circle, and that is no longer part of my life. But they used to say, no, if you're happy is like happenstance, and it depends on, and that is contingent upon when something happened. What you really need to have is joy. And then I thought, you know what? And I used to say that. I used to believe that. So that's the way I would say, well, if I don't have joy, because joy is like unspeakable and, never goes away regardless of something. And I used to just refute the word happiness. And then I decide, wait a minute, happiness has to do with my humanity. And when something great happens, I feel happy. I really relate more to happiness than joy. Joy is something that I have on the inside, but that's not something, it's not jumping up and down. But when it's like I just had an experience the past month, whatever, which has made me so happy. And it's something that I feel, that I embrace. And with that, I emote, the emotions that comes with that. And again, that for me is unapologetic. So I define my emotions when something great happens or whatever as happiness. It could be joy too, but happiness is how I define it. And that is mine. That is exclusively mine in my life. I define what it means to be successful. I define what fulfillment means. And it's really interesting because for me, there are so many things that makes me feel fulfilled. When I have a good relationship with the people around me, starting with the people that know me best, which is, my family, and then my friends, and then have good relationships with strangers, people that I meet, because I meet people all the time. And I have learned recently, or not really learned, but starting to really acknowledge my ability to connect really strongly with people. I shared a couple of weeks ago, or could have been last week. I did this project with a group of ladies, European ladies, and I was the only one from Latin America. And I'm telling you, the warmth that they showed and the embrace that they gave me was just really just out of this world, undefinable. I could not even define what it felt like to me. And one day when after rehearsal, I proceeded to share it with them about their culture, because I was so impressed. And what I had done is I went online and started studying about their culture, simply because I was going to be spending some time with these ladies, and I wanted to learn about their culture, what to say, what not to say, how to act, simply because, you want to respect and you want to make sure that you can have a cohesive blending of the cultures. And so I shared with them how warm, and I thanked them, and I, warmed their feet and whatever. And they did not, well, they deflected, and they put it back on me. They said, no, it is you. It is you. It is you, your approach, your warmth, the way you are to us, the way you receive it. And they just put it back on me. So I now am realizing, or really acknowledging, my ability to connect in such a way that is authentic, genuine, organic. I don't want to pretend. I don't care if I'm just meeting you. I am not about to pretend or make believe, or that is just not something I am going to do. Why? Because I am at the chapter that I'm in now in my life. This season is just open. This season is open to learn, to progress, this is my season of empowerment. And I feel empowered in the choices that I am making in my life. And it's working out for me. I'm just really happy about that. But it comes to that place where you like, you know what? It is what it is. Like we say, it is what it is. So you take ownership. Now, fulfillment. So that's one of the things that fulfills me, when I can have great relationships with the people that are around me. Another sense of fulfillment is when I can, share of me with others. It's like me coming to you every week. And for those of you that are new, I am on here every Thursday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. We can have a date right here. Now, if you can't meet me here at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, you see these icons down here? Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You can pick up the show 24/7 and so forth. You can also drop me a note at info@thecynthialinoxshow.com, and I will share whatever concerns you have, and we can make a show out of that. So fulfillment, that is another piece that gives me fulfillment. Being able to share these concepts, these ideas. Uh, and if it resonates with you, that's great. If it gives you, kind of opens a port there for you to think and like, wait a minute, and think about your own life, then again, that's a good thing. And for those of you that follow me every week, then again, I am glad to know that you are also progressing in your life. And I know that it takes courage. It takes a while, and it takes courage before you can come to a level to where you are like, to hell with everything, and you just really become bold and audacious, and you just go for it in courage, taking responsibility, setting boundaries, and determining the life that you want. So you are able to define what fulfillment is, but you have to really be authentic with yourself. For some people, like I know some people that they have grandkids, and their whole lives is surrounded around their grandchildren. That's their fulfillment. At least that's what they say. And if that works for them, then they define what that means for them. Your fulfillment may be taking care of someone that needs your help, physical limitations and so forth. That whatever it is, you define that. But the thing is, sometimes it's easy to tell ourselves things that simply because we think we have no choice. Sometimes we want to break out. We really want something else, but it's hard for us to say no. It may be hard for that grandparent to say, you know what? No, I'm not tonight. I'm not gonna watch the kids. Oh, but why are you're gonna be home? It doesn't matter. I'm gonna be home, but I'm not gonna watch the kids tonight. I just want to be at home, alone by myself. Relax, glass of wine, some jazz, whatever. That may be you. People become so relaxed and so complacent, and so thinking that every time they knock on your door that you should answer and do whatever they want you to do, simply because in their minds they're saying you have a responsibility as a grandparent. And I hear a lot of grandparents complaining about that. I'm not going to watch the kids in the morning, this and that, whatever. And then they go back to the same thing. And that is something that you have to resolve in your own mind. Is it something that brings you joy and fulfillment? Or do you just do it because you don't have any other options? You have not given yourself any other options. And you're at a point in your life where you could really start all over again. You could start a brand new life and really set out to do the things that you want to do at this stage in your life, because this is a different chapter in your life. You can turn the page from what it used to be, or again, you can modify it. You can change some things and say, okay, you're going to dedicate these days to the grandkids, but these days is, comes Friday, Saturday, Sunday, off limits. That is your time, unless you decide to go see them. There's so many options that you have. You just have to have the courage to do what you want to do. But it has to be something that fulfills you. And with that, you have to set boundaries. You have to let people know that, you know what? No. That's not the way it's going to work. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. You need to set the boundaries. And with that, be unapologetic. You cannot do that and apologize. That's why it has to be authentic. You see, when you are authentic, and when you move in a very organic fashion, without the preservative and without it's kind of like somebody asking permission or making excuses, or when you say no, you add something to it. No, because I'm going to do this. No, simply, no, that's not going to work for me. And that's period. That's not a matter of good or bad, right or wrong. It's simply, if it's not going to work for you, you don't need to explain. You don't need to make excuses. You don't need to, be shy about saying it. It's simply no. And comes a point where you are going to get to that point. Some of you are already at that point. You just say no. And sometimes, it's the hardest thing to say no to our kids, to the kids. It's hard to say no to the people that that we love. I don't, like my husband, when he asks me to do something, I don't like to tell him no, but it all depends what it is. The other day he was, with his phone and looking up something, and he comes over and he said, well, why don't you, you know, uh, look it up and see what you come up with. And I was in the middle of something. And for a second, I almost did it. Then I thought, wait a minute, no, no, no. Then I said, give me a second. I said, let me finish this, and then I'll look it up. And but I had to remind myself why, because first of all, I delight in pleasing my husband because he's a terrific, he's a phenomenal man, and he's a wonderful, amazing man. So I delight in doing that. But then came a point where I had to rewire my programming, and I had to make sure that I was putting myself as priority because I had him as the priority in my life. Nothing wrong with that. But then once I myself, going through this whole journey, I thought, you know what? Wait a minute, Cynthia. You need to do a little shifting here, and with that I became aware. I became aware that I needed to make some changes. That I needed to make some changes and do a switch. Make sure that I am the priority in my life. And fortunately, my husband is mature, and he has got great emotional intelligence. So he rides with me. We ride together on this journey of self-discovery. We just have different mechanism, different path on how we accomplish what we need to accomplish. So he understood, and as soon as I was done, then I went and did what he asked me to do, and it's no thing. But my point is, you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to make sure that you are authentic. That like if I say no, it's not because I just want to prove a point. I just have to make sure that I am putting myself first. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people say, well, my kids come first and whatever. Again, you need to revisit that. Is that really the truth? Is that really what you want to do in your life? Because again, when you go to that place where you discover who you are, you will be able to define your worth, your value, and things of that nature. When you come into that place of your authentic self, you discover your worth. And if you say your kids come first, well, does that mean, of course, if it's a baby, you've got to take care of the baby. But your kid of 40 years old, unless there's special needs, they can take care of themselves. You determine that. Again, comes to a point where you define that for yourself. See, the whole thing with this show is I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just reminding you that you are well able. You have the ability to think critically, exercise emotional intelligence, be responsible, make your own decisions, determine your own path, and set your boundaries for everyone in every situation. Know what you like, know what you don't like, know what you will tolerate, what you will not tolerate. You determine that. It is freedom of choice. You get to choose what works for you. That's why sometimes I say to some people, well, that's not going to work for me. Why? Because if it's not going to work for me, it's not going to work for me. It may be a good thing, but if it doesn't work for me, then it doesn't work for me. And you have to come to that place. So again, living your life on your own terms, you rewrite the story, you rewrite the script, you create the definitions of things that no longer serve you. you move the limits. You open the doors of the cage that you sometimes we are locked in, and we call it security and so forth. Um, excuse me. And you remove the limits. You remove the limits. You get rid of it. You get rid of it because sometimes things are disguised as a comfort zone, a place of comfort. And let me tell you something. I just did some things that took me out of my comfort zone. And if I had given it a lot of thought, I would not have done it. I would definitely not have done it, simply because getting out of your comfort zone is really getting out of your comfort zone. And it all depends on what you're choosing to do. I was involved in a performance show. It was like a fashion show over the weekend. And, we had rehearsed for it and so forth. And it was something that I had never done. And because it was all new to me, there was some anxiety associated with it. Why? Because you don't want to, number one, you don't want to look like a fool. And number two, you don't want to disappoint the people that are depending on you. And it was just really, it turned out very well. But the thing that really impressed me, and one of the reasons that I was selected for, well, I don't know what reason they selected me or asked me to join them in that endeavor. And it's because the message behind the whole thing is it was like a multicultural type event. And the person that was responsible for it, her message is always about unity, but unity not only in our group, but unity worldwide, collectively. And I was just really impressed by that whole concept. And so I did it. So I did rehearsal with these ladies for about a month. Every week we'll do rehearsal. And it was a big of a deal, bigger than I thought. I thought it was just going to be like, runway modeling. I've done that in my, years back, runway modeling, and that's it. And that's easy. You don't have to, you just model the fashion. Well, this was a whole performance, another culture, folkloric type dancing, beautiful. Watching the ladies do it, they're just simply beautiful, all of them. And then I had to kind of improvise. But guess what? I was out of my comfort zone. And the warmth from the group of ladies that I was with was so delightful that it made it easy. And then I remember the day of the event, which was Sunday. The day of the event, the producer said, "You know what? Even if you don't remember the steps, just improvise. Don't, stop and because the audience," she said, "the audience, they don't know what to expect. They don't know what you rehearsed to do." And that, of course, took some anxiety from me. But this whole thing about coming out of your comfort zone, yeah, it's not easy. I learned that but you know what? For me, it's taken me to another level, and I will go for it again. If it's something that I think is going to enhance and enrich my cultural understanding and the essence of who I am, then I'm going to do it, because it really kind of brought me up a notch from being bold and daring. Because midstream, I would say to my husband, "I cannot even believe that I'm doing this." But again, the environment, the warmth, and the culture and the personalities of these ladies was so rich that every time we had rehearsal, I was so pleased to go. I would show up on time every time. I would be there simply because I made the commitment, and that's what I did. So my point is, yeah, getting out of that place of comfort, that comfort zone. Don't kid yourself and tell yourself that where you are is where you want to be. Be honest with yourself. That's what being authentic is. You have to start with yourself, and don't lie to yourself and make believe. Some people. I went to this event last Thursday, I believe it was, and it was nice. And there were some ladies that I had not seen. It's another event, and there were some ladies that I had not seen for a long time, and but I've been pretty active, and so this person came up and she says, "Oh my gosh, it's great to see you. Where have you been? We haven't seen you." And I said, "Oh gosh, I've been so busy." And everyone is busy. And she said, "Well, I understand." But she says, I choose to use the word active because everybody is busy." And I thought, wow, that's a good word to use instead of saying I'm so busy, because really you're not that busy that you cannot make a phone call to someone if that's what you want to do. But that I'm active, yes. I stay very engaged in activities, in engagements, appointments, and all of that. Yes, I do stay active and so forth. So, but getting back to living life on your own terms, you determine the words, how you define what everything means to you, what it means for you to be responsible, taking responsibility for yourself, taking responsibility for your decisions, taking responsibility for the way you do life, taking responsibility for being financially independent. And let me tell you, everyone can get to that level regardless of what you have. It's all a mindset. It all has to do with your mindset. Do you know that your subconscious mind receives programming from the thoughts that you deposit there, whether it's negative or positive? Your subconscious mind does not filter the thoughts. Those thoughts become your reality. That's why it is so important that you become aware of that. Your mindset, it's the greatest tool you have to do life. You must have that understanding. Everything starts in your subconscious mind. There was this man, and this goes way back when I think it's Joseph Murphy did a study on that, and which was confirmed by Harvard because they do a lot of study on the science of the mind and so forth. And so this gentleman was given like a few weeks to live. I don't know, 5-6 weeks to live and so forth. And that was not his choice. And he understood the power of the subconscious mind. So he began to visualize himself as healthy. He began to visualize himself as healthy, giving gratitude and having expectations of recovering. And guess what? He recovered. He recovered. Some call it the placebo effect. Call it whatever you want, but the power of the mind, and that shows you that you have the power to create, whether it's health, whether it's wealth, whether it's your success, whether it's fulfillment. You have the power to create the life that you want. And surely once you do that, to live that life on your own terms, it's the most beautiful thing you can, and when I say to get rid of the script, today I was, this just came to my mind. Today I read something on social media, and this person was talking about marriage, and they said there is no marriage that can exist or be successful or happy or stay together unless you have a three chord, which is God, your spouse, and yourself. And they put that in there as if it was dogma, and in their mind it was. And I looked at that and I thought, wow, okay, because you see, whatever you believe, that's for you. Whatever you believe, that is for you. That's not for anyone else. That is for you. And that's it. Once you have that understanding, then you can navigate through life, allowing people to think whatever they want, believe whatever they want, live however they want to live by whatever script they choose to live by. I have a different concept of marriage. In my ideology, my concept, a marriage is partnership of two. It is a team effort of two individuals, two people. Now, whatever it is that brought you together, and again, this is mine. You can create your own and define what works for you. So two people, they come together by whatever attraction. I know with my husband and I, it was more than physical. You know, he's handsome, he's attractive. It was more than that. It was the essence of who he was. And at that time, I didn't really understand this about essence, but his character. It was just very strong. Integrity, a man of, solid and so forth. And I was attracted to that. He gives a sense of assuredness. That trustworthy. You can trust him. He's a man of his word, and he's responsible, and all of those things. I observed that. We dated for 2 years and so forth. So I had a lot of opportunities to see those qualities in him, and until I decided, well, of course before then, but so we decided that we're gonna make it legal, our union. But it's between him and myself, he and I. And ever since, we've become a team, partnership. I don't submit, he doesn't submit. We submit to each other. It's not like he's here and then I'm here, like some people say, he here and I here. It doesn't work that way in our household. We engage or we enlist the strength of each one of us. Like if he is strong in an area, then he'll do that. If I'm strong in this area, then I'll do that. With finances, he is a genius. He takes care of everything. He is, and I have my area of strength, and I will do that when it comes to technology and figuring things out and whatever. So we both have our strength, even in the house, doing the things we like. And that's the whole thing. We do the things that we like. He loves to work outside and do things, whatever. And, he finds joy in that. And I like to, have a nice, tidy house. And, we find joy. So we engage our strength. If he's strong in that area, then that's what he does. And this way, whatever he does, he can do it with joy, and vice versa, myself as well. But we don't let anyone in the middle. No family, no friend, no God, none of that. We don't let anyone between us, not even God. And I say that unapologetically. Again, that is my thing. That works for us. It may not work for you. Whatever you believe, that is for you. It's not for everyone else. So, when I read this, it's like, okay, this person is talking for themselves, not for the public. Because there are a lot of marriages that are of atheists. Great relationship, long-term marriages, of two individuals, regardless. And then on the reverse side, I have seen so many marriages with God in the middle that have gone astray. Many Christian marriages. We see it all the time. You just watch social media, or for us, it was close to home. I saw, anyway, pastors, our pastor, or mine, actually, that was before I met my husband, go through the whole line of options before, anyway, but lots of few divorces. And so, again, whatever you believe is for you. It's not a universal concept. And once you understand that, this way also you can live your life minding your own business and not try to impose your belief and your ideology and your concept on anyone else. It doesn't work for someone else. That works for you. What my concept is between my husband and I, that works for us to keep us happy and enthused and really enjoying each other after so many years of being married, keeping it fresh and fun, adventurous, and spontaneous, because we are intentional, we are mindful. So whatever you come up with, whatever definitions you have, you cannot look at your kids and say, well, they should be doing this or they should be doing that. If you are part of their circle and given the responsibility of the grandkids, if that infringes on your freedom, then you need to decide what works for you and communicate that to them. But you can't tell them how to rule their lives. If you find that they're going to the club or going out with their friends every weekend and you're the one that's stuck with the grandkids, and if you enjoy that, well, that's fine. But if you're saying, wait a minute, they need to be, it's a weekend, they need to have their kids so that you can go out with your friends, or at least have some alone time at home, enjoying your peace and quiet and so forth, you make that decision. But you can't, or you shouldn't, tell them what to do. If they're adults, then it comes a point where you mind your own business and allow them to be who they want to be and allow them to learn by themselves. But if you're facilitating, if you're enabling them by taking care of the grandkids while they go out and have fun, then that's on you. It is your decision. It is your life. It is your life. It is your decision. It is your life. But you can't go around telling people what to do. And I always, because I am so cognizant of the fact that within you, there's that chip of knowledge and understanding about life, your life, because your life is totally different from my life. You have a different set of circumstances that surround you or that influences your life. Your family dynamics are totally different from mine. So you have to go with what works for you based on the dynamics of your family, based on the culture of your family, based on perhaps the tradition of your family. And you see, with that's why, if you want to break away from that, then you have to do what you need to do to make that happen. Thanksgiving is coming up. A lot of people, are saying, you know what, I am just, this is not going to work for me anymore. Every year, the same thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the thing. Some people approach this whole journey of self-discovery with guilt, because when you start setting boundaries and when people start showing you, giving you a side eye or something like that, you feel guilty because you think that you have betrayed the relationship, the friendship, the unity, the closeness. It's not that. It's that you are discovering who you are so that you can become closer to yourself, with yourself, and love yourself more and understand yourself more and respect yourself more. That's a big one for me. That this respect thing is, you got to start with yourself. You have to respect who you are. You've got to respect yourself. And if it looks like rebellion, then so be it. so be it. Like I was just saying with this person that's talking about, marriage has to be God, your spouse, and yourself. That works for that person. That's their idea. But they can't tell me that. That doesn't work for me. That does not work for me. That does not work for us. And I say that unapologetically. I don't, a lot of people may not agree with me, but that's not for a lot of people. It's for me. I define what works for me so that my life can be on the path that it needs to be. You define what works for you. That person on social media, they if that works for them, then and whoever's going to follow that, like some people in the comments would say, amen, amen, amen. They may be of the same thread. That is okay. But that is a script that's been handed down. Now, if you want to bust out of that whole prepackaged, contained narrative, then you have to come up with what works for you. Comes a point you want to just burst out, and it's like, enough already. You just burst out and you just want to be who you really are. That is where your life is, my friend. That is where your life is, who you really are. That's where it's embedded in your authentic self. And when you discover that, or when you come to that place, the peace and the contentment that you have, it's just a place of happiness. And even when you're by yourself, you're happy to be by yourself. You're not lonely. You're just happy to be by yourself because you are happy with yourself. You love yourself. You enjoy your company. But when you're guided by a script, that's why I'm telling you, most of our lives is scripted. And that's why we fall into an identity that's not really us. Why? Because we're following the script. We're following a script. It says, to do this, you must do this, you must do that, you do it this way, you do it that way, you do this, you do that, and you're following a script. Not only is that boring, but that is disingenuous. That is not, people that are minded, that kind of mindset, I am very very cautious around them, because depending on what the relationship is, if they're just doing something performative, well, I have to do this because we're related, and they would say things like blood is thicker than water. That's another concept. I don't believe in the blood is thicker than water. There's no truth to that. What does that mean? Blood is thicker than water. I mean, I love my siblings, but that's not a true statement. First of all, you don't have the same blood, because they would say, well, we're a blood relative. There's no such thing. Look it up. Biology, anatomy, and all of that. That is a concept. That is a concept. Now, if you are close by, default, or by the relationship, that's why you have some cousins and siblings, that you may be closer to this sibling than the other. And it's not because good or bad, right or wrong. It's just because you may have something more, something in common, or you may have share the same ideas and so forth. So it's not one is better than the other. No, it's just simply because you have something in common. But there's no such thing as blood is thicker than water. That is a cliche. That is a cliche that's been handed down. It is a script, and we all follow that. We all follow that. I used to believe that. I used to say that until I and I was thinking about it. And as a matter of fact, there's this person on social media that has such a rough relationship with her mother. And she has nothing good to say about her mother. Nothing. And when I listened to her, My mother and I were so close. We were like chiclets. We were like, attached. We were so close. I adored my mother and she adored me. Well, she responded to the way I treated her. She responded because moms, they love all their kids, but she responded to the way I treated her. And so I cannot even relate to this woman, when she talks about her mother. I cannot even relate that. But I refrain from judging her because she goes into a lot of details. And I'm telling you, and she has nothing, not even one thread of information good to say about her mother. And, if there's anything closer than that, would be her mother to her. But she has nothing good to say about her mother at all. And so, again, when you say blood is thicker than water, that's all cliche. Again, come to a place, my friend, where you decide, where you determine, and don't be afraid to change things, to switch it up, to add definition, what makes me fulfill. And the people around you, your family dynamics, they may not agree with you. But again, you're not looking for someone to agree with you. You're looking to discover your authentic self so that you can be and, live a life that's fulfilled and accomplished and know who you are and love who you are and walk in courage and confidence and get out of the box and get out of the cage and open the door and remove the barriers, the limitation, get out of the comfort zone, because the comfort zone is a lie. It's a place that we think we're comfortable, but it really isn't. It's a place that it's like a slow death. It's a drip, 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 drip. And the more you ignore it, you're just waiting. You're just waiting. In the meantime, there may be things bubbling up inside of you, and the next chapter is waiting for you to turn the page and say, we're going to start something new today and move forward in boldness and courage and take a chance. Take a chance on yourself. Take a chance on life. Take a chance on yourself. Why? Because you're worth it. You are worth it. You are worth it. All of you are worth it. You are worth it. You are worth it. Your value has increased once you become aware of who you are. You increase your value. Why? Because you get to know who you are. And you don't settle to a life of performance, to perform according to a script. You become the author. Imagine that. You author your own script, your own book. This is my book. These are my beliefs. This is what I think. This is what I know, and I go by this. And it comes a point, where you may be thinking some radical thoughts. And when I spent some time with these ladies over the past month rehearsing and all that stuff before the show, I learned so much. And I said to my husband, I said, knowledge may come with wisdom, but I'm telling you something. I don't discount the wisdom of another generation, because you'll learn something. It all depends on how open you are. But I open myself, and I refrain from judging. I don't judge. They may be doing things that I am not familiar with, but I'm telling you, it's just wonderful to see people live the lives that they want. And you could tell it was just so refreshing to see people that they know who they are, and they're confident and courageous and bold. And I said to my husband, I learned some things. It was great to be in that kind of environment where people are not, at least the way I saw them. The only shyness they had is that their English wasn't fluent. But guess what? As they understood it, they spoke it. And I understood everything. And it's funny because they were speaking their language, and then I went online and I looked up some words and so forth and tried to learn a little bit so that I could share some words with them, and it became a fun thing. But these girls were confident. And the only time they were a little shy, again, is when they had to communicate something in English, and they kind of hesitate a little bit. Well, they had to think it, and then sometimes they'll just go off and just speaking in their language, and then I will have Anastasia. She would whisper to me and she would translate to me, and then I had Anna in my other ear keeping me up to date and so forth. When I said it was a warm environment, that's exactly right. But they're confident. And it was wonderful to be in that environment, seeing some people, especially, from another generation, walk in that sense of knowledge, worth of who they are. And I had the producer, she said to me, very successful woman, lived in about 24 different nations around the world. And, she's accomplished. And she said, Cynthia, she said, at this point in my life, I am not interested in material things. I just want to pour of myself into women, into people. She understands and she loves the essence of a woman. And that is like her mission. She wants to pour of herself into women, to bring them up, to lift them up, to encourage them, to motivate women. And she said that to me. I thought, how noble is that? And, as a matter of fact, she says, wherever you choose to go around the world, you let me know, because I have friends in just about every country. I'm telling you, that's what she told me. I have friends in every country. So wherever you're going to travel to, because she knows that, we go to Europe a lot and we like Europe. And she says, wherever you choose to go. And she said, if you choose to go to Canada, you let me know, because I have friends that I will connect you with. Imagine that. Confident. That's how I see you, my friend, getting to that place in your own fashion, in your own style, at your own pace, in your own essence, coming into that place of knowing who you are, getting to that place of discovering your authentic self. And then you determine to live your life on your own terms. And remember, you define what that means to you. You create that definition. Because therein lies your happiness and your fulfillment. I'm going to leave you with that, my friend. When I share with you, it's like sharing with myself. I get so inspired and motivated and all of that. But anyway, every Thursday, we meet right here at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you can't meet me at 2 p.m., these icons right down here: Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You can always connect 24/7. I am also a life coach, and I offer a 30-minute session so that we can chat, complimentary session, so that we can chat and determine if you need me to walk alongside you on your journey. So, in the meantime, have a fantastic weekend. This is a long weekend coming up. So whatever you do, make sure you have fun and you enjoy it. And I will see you next week, same time, same place. In the meantime, hasta luego, amigos. Hasta la vista. Hasta la próxima. Ciao. Or atitalur. Hasta la vista y hasta luego.